Do you notice something that I notice? So it doesn't matter what news you watch. It doesn't matter who your favorite pundit is. But do you ever notice that when you're watching the news, especially the cable news, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News Channel, when you're watching these channels, that everything that happens in the course of a day in our world, in our country, everything is attached at the hip to politicians and politics, making us more and more helpless and less independent and less able to use our own brains, making us think that reality is this bubble where nothing happens without the influence or without the reaction to or without the responsibility of politicians and the government. That's just not true. That should be a very small minority of the content that we get in the news in this country. In other words, there should be stories that things happened all day long every day in this country that have nothing to do with politics. And it sets our expectations for every single thing that happens to us in our lives in the world today, every single problem that we have to solve and that we suffer from in the world today, it goes to the White House and the President of the United States, that it's Donald Trump's fault, that it's Donald Trump's responsibility. CNN has got Donald Trump on the brain. Nobody loves Donald Trump more than CNN, unless, of course, we also want to consider MSNBC. Nobody loves Donald Trump more than CNN. I don't even think it's close. I don't even think that MSNBC loves Donald Trump more than CNN does. Because every single thing in the universe, they can't form a complete thought. They can't speak in complete paragraphs anymore, I doubt. Certainly not in full pages, without having Donald Trump on the brain. What does this have to do with Donald Trump? Or rather, what does Donald Trump have to do with this? If you genuinely didn't like Donald Trump, like I don't, I'm as clear as a crystal bell that I don't like Donald Trump. And so if they were genuinely opposed to Donald Trump like I am, then they wouldn't make everything about him. They would try to strip Donald Trump of having any power or influence or authority or responsibility over any of this crap that's going on in the world today. Keeping him out of it is the way to truly oppose. We don't want to raise his stature. We don't want to enlarge his presence over every damn thing that we're going through in this country today, making it all about him. And I think there are the great cowherds of society who don't know how to think for themselves. They don't know how to solve their own problems. They don't know how to give good advice about anything anymore. As soon as something has to do with health, you got to shut your mouth. You can't talk about it. They cut your tongue out of your mouth because you're not a real doctor. Are you a real doctor? And everybody is programmed like an unthinking 90 IQ, sub 90 IQ robot. You're trained, carefully trained to think that, well, I'm not a real doctor. I can't talk about health. Excuse me, but when the hell did this medical tyranny begin? Health is about more than medicine. Health is about more than medical. Okay? There is room for medical in health. I think medical should be one of the cornerstones. It should be one of the 5 pillars of health. But it's not a monopoly on health. You can talk about health without having a medical degree. A doctor is somebody, you know what they did? They went to medical school, they had a lot of money to pay for their schooling, they passed a lot of tests, and they answered a lot of questions about drugs. If you can take a test and answer 800 questions about drugs, about chemicals that you're going to be prescribing people to put in their bodies, you can be a medical doctor. That's all it takes. It doesn't mean you're some kind of an expert. It doesn't mean you're free from bias. It doesn't mean that you're incapable of making mistakes. It doesn't mean that you're not brainwashed. You can get caught up in it just as easily as anybody else. Just because you got a costume on, just because you've got a white jacket on and you're walking around with a stethoscope around your shoulders like you're some kind of that doesn't make you the be all end all, and that doesn't make you above and beyond the ability to question. You're subject to people asking questions as well too, and people should be asking questions. And there's nothing wrong with free speech or asking questions concerning health and healthcare in this country. And the amount of drugs that we're swallowing and taking, I believe that probably in another 15 or 20 years, my predictions are almost never wrong, by the way. I'm just going to toot my own horn for a second here. My predictions are very accurate most of the time. I'm going to predict in about another 20 years from now in this country, if things continue going the way they're going, Every single American alive is going to be on drugs. The children are going to be on drugs. The adolescents are going to be on drugs. The young adults are going to be on drugs. The older adults are going to be on drugs. And the senior citizens they're going to be on even more drugs. Everybody's going to be on drugs in this country. Everybody. The amount of autism, the amount of mental illness, 1 in 5 children in America have a mental illness. That's a golden ticket, man. That's a golden ticket to sell them drugs. Now you start putting those chemicals in you and you start taking these pills. Get 1 in 5 kids. Pretty soon it's going to be 1 in 4 kids. Then it's going to be 1 in 3 kids. How many kids have autism today compared to how many had autism 50 years ago? Half of our children have a chronic health condition. If you look at physical as well as mental, it's like 50%. Why the hell are our kids so sick? And nobody's questioning it. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Nobody seems to question anything anymore. Nobody can think for themselves. They're so carefully trained not to think. They're so carefully trained to be ignorant and to not question anything anymore, when you should be questioning everything you hear every single day. You can start with my video right now. I want you to question everything that I have to say right now. There's no moneyed interest in what I'm saying. I'm not making a profit on you. I'm not taking a dime out of your pocket and putting a dime into my pocket. So I have no reason to lie to anybody about anything on any day in any video that I compose. I'm here to tell the truth. And that's what you should be doing too. You should start telling yourself the truth. Be honest with yourself. Where is that 10 minutes? Did you watch the news for 10 minutes today? And you actually believed what you heard? Produce that 10 minutes for me. Show me that 10 minutes that you thought was credible. If you're a quote-unquote liberal, which liberal doesn't even mean liberal anymore. I mean, look up. It's called classical liberal. You bastardize the definition of liberal so badly that you have to, take the true definition of liberal and change the terminology and call that classical liberal. Well, now what the hell does liberal mean? It means almost the complete opposite of what it used to mean. And these neoliberals, I don't care what you call them, neoliberals, neocons, neoconservatives, neoconservatives aren't conservative and neoliberals aren't liberal. You guys are fake as the news that you watch. And we can make tremendous inroads with this place. We can make tremendous inroads with these people. But we got to start somewhere. Let's start now. Let's do it now.
We don't need leaders. We need movements. Even the best of power is a poison. Power is always dangerous no matter who wields it. And it's always those movements that must keep leaders in check, and they have destroyed our movements, especially starting in 1971 with the Powell Memo. There's a moment in Kissinger's memoirs, don't buy the book, where it's 1971, there are tens of thousands of anti-war demonstrators. Nixon has put empty city buses in a ring around the White House. And he's looking out the window going, Henry, they're going to break through the barricades and get us. And that's where we want leaders to be. It is our job to make power frightened of us, not to ever trust in power.